You'll get a
And so,
message.
Great.
all right.
Faye,
So
Faye, maybe
you click
welcome.
OK.
Everyone smile.
The goals for these meetups, as we've said each time, we want to keep connected, rekindle old friendships, and maybe even start some new friendships through it. Judy Mandel, if you didn't join last month, you should go ahead onto the YouTube channel and listen to it because it went really, really well, I think. And tonight's theme is life adventures. So that's a time for us to share our stories since we graduated and some surprises and even some bucket list moments that we've had over the years. So what I'm going to do is turn it back to Joanne, who's going to continue to help you all get situated and get your names changed and go for it, Joanne.
Well, I think that we have become Zoom pros after all of our sessions. Because if you remember our first session, there was a lot of Zoom fumbling, right? But look at us now. We've got our names. So again, just a couple of things. Sometimes you see someone come on the screen and you go, "Oh, I haven't seen her in so long or him in so long," and you want to send them a chat. The chat is a great feature, whether you're on your iPad or phone or whatever. If it is generally on the bottom of your screen. Sue will let me know if it's on the bottom of the iPad. But there's just a simple thing that says chat. And when you go into chat, you have an option to start a new chat. You can chat to everyone. You'll see a little icon at the top. So if I want to say to everyone, greetings, I just type in greetings in the little box, and there's a little arrow. You can hit enter or just simply, hit the little icon. If I want to start a new chat and I want to send a message to John Charles and say, "What the heck time is it in Portland, Oregon?" I can simply look at his name and we could chat privately. So it's a great feature. Again, we encourage you to, if there's folks that you want to, talk to again after this session, we have contact information. So always ask Todd if you want specific contact information. And I'm saying if I missed anything here, hang on a minute. I think we're pretty good. We have everyone so far with where they live and their names. And Joyce, I'm going to add for you because you're still in Boston, right?
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, so I will do that. So Faye, take it away.
Okay, well, do we have any newcomers on here tonight who haven't been on any of these?
Nope.
No.
No?
But they may be joining because some folks come in a little bit later. I mean, I had a notification that a couple of people had joined earlier and then maybe they were testing out the Zoom link. So I'll keep an eye on the waiting room, Faye.
Okay.
And then if anybody new pops in, I'll make sure to
Okay, because what we like to do is if there's a sort of first timer, to give them the floor a little bit to share a summary of their life in 30 seconds. So,
What they've been doing the last 54 years, 50.
something
30
along those
seconds.
lines. So anyway, is there anybody here among the 12 of us that you would like to hear that from?
No.
No? Okay. Well, then we'll move on. So tonight's theme, the life adventures, and we're going to kind of give you, about 2 minutes each for answering, but you don't have to answer. It's just all voluntary. So what is a place that you've traveled to that you really never dreamed that you would have gone to, maybe back in 72 when we graduated? So we're looking for travel and a place. I can start it. I'll just start it. And I never imagined that I would travel to Africa, but it turns out that I've been there twice, and I'm going a third time in January to Kenya,
Wow.
on mission trips. So that's a surprise for me. So who would like to go next?
I think Joyce was ready to
Joyce
go.
was raising her
Go
I'm
hand.
ahead,
ready
Joyce.
Go
to
for it,
go.
Joyce.
It may take a little over 2 minutes because I want to tell you about Prague.
Oh,
Okay.
Whoa.
Prague is, I know it's on a lot of people's bucket lists, and my dad was born in Prague,
oh,
and he and his family came to the United States when Hitler was coming into his region. So a lot of the people that his relatives were not so fortunate, and they stayed behind. Most of them survived, but they lived through communism for 40 years. So my dad went back, first time in 64. He took me for the first time when it was probably 68. And now I go there every year.
Oh,
You
Nice.
do.
I do since I retired. So
Mhm.
I went periodically with my dad while he was alive, and there's 25 relatives over there.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so these are all descendants, like his cousins, his first cousins, and their kids and their kids. So there's 3 generations. They're the ones that are a couple of years older than us, then the ones in their 40s, and the kids who are now getting older. They're like 14 to 21, all boys. And so, yeah, so I've been going every couple of years, skipped 5 years for COVID, and then I went back and I realized I'm retired now. I can do this every year. There's no reason I can't go back. So I, of course, get to see it. I stay in a hotel in the middle of town, but I get some extra stuff where they take me and they'll invite me to their homes and take me on outings. There's lots of good places to go to outside of Prague. There's like so many castles and little towns that are just very picturesque and wonderful. But I'll tell you about Prague. So Prague is called the city of 1,000 spires because everywhere you look up and you see spires from church. Oh, there's one. Look down the side alley. Oh, there's another one down there. And that's what you see. You walk down these cobblestone streets. I'm talking about the old part of town, which is pretty big. And so you get to see all of this. The architecture is magnificent. The churches are beautiful. The buildings are beautiful, and they're from different eras. So there's a lot of medieval looking buildings, and then there's also those from the Art Deco period, which are really, really fun to look at. So you could just get to the middle of town, which it's a walkable city, so you can get there from any number of hotels and start walking. You can stop in, oh, I think I'll go into this church, or they have exhibits. This year, I went into a Banksy exhibit. I went into an exhibit where they had optical illusions, which were just fascinating. They had like old style paintings on the wall, and they're very modern too sometimes. So if you stand in front of the man who's being pushed out the window, there was a defenestration in the castle many years ago. So they have a picture of him going out the window, this man. And if you stand in front of it and give him a push, they'll take your picture and it looks like you are pushing it out the window. Of course, I have to follow this up with pictures. But anyway, there's just like, you never know what you're going to find. You just from walking around. Art, there's lots of art museums. There's culture. They love classical music and concerts, theater. And yeah, it's a great place to go.
Educate us.
things-
Where's Prague next to? What country is it?
Prague is sort of, it's Central Europe. So it's south is Austria, and it borders Germany and Poland.
Okay.
So it was the old Czech Republic, right?
Right. So and Slovakia. So it used to be Czechoslovakia.
Right,
And
right.
then in
Now it's the Czech
93.
Republic.
Yeah.
Do you
So
speak the language at all?
No, that's a work in progress. So this year, how I left it was I started studying. I mean, I started studying 10 years ago, but it's like I started really studying last year. And I'm at the point where I can order in a restaurant
Oh,
and order in a store. And I'll tell you, the people get a big kick out of that because no foreigners, no Czech. And so it's sort of like a feel good thing. Like I feel good, they feel good, and that makes me feel good that we're making it, you know what I'm talking about. So I want to do more of that. And my older relatives, there's one man out of 6 who really tries. So he just he's like more like a kid where they're not self-conscious about what they're saying. They just want to get the message out. Like, okay, we're meeting tomorrow morning and we're driving to the boat. You know, you have to be able to say those things, and he'll just like say it in English with all kinds of mistakes, but he's not afraid of it.
Yeah.
Whereas me, and I know a lot of people in our generation, were like perfectionists, and it's like, oh, I don't want to say it if I say it wrong. So this year I told them, I'm going to keep up what I've done. And then in September, I'm going to start getting a tutor once a week.
oh,
Good idea.
So that next year I will be able to talk more to the older generation and enjoy what I see and hear
Great.
more. But yeah,
That
if
is
anybody
so cool.
wants to go.
That's so cool that you've been so many times that you've really gotten to know the area.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's like I'm really comfortable there. I can walk anywhere. Oh, the food. I forgot to tell you about the food. So now I know where I like to eat. They have great Czech traditional foods. It's a lot of like pork, dumplings, cabbage, gravy. And the best thing is their beer.
oh, yeah.
It's so good. I'm not a beer drinker here at all, but over there, it's just like, it's different. It's like a different drink. It's so fresh and it's so, I don't know, it makes you feel really good, really fast without a hangover. So that's the amazing part. So I'll teach you that one word if you go. It's pivo. So you have to know how to say pivo.
Pivo.
Yes.
That means beer?
Yes. Velké pivo means large beer.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Joyce, do you realize you made a pun?
What did I say?
Well, when about learning the language, you said it's a work in progress.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Faye, for picking that up.
And you're still in progress
Okay,
of
yes.
speaking itself.
Well, I think I love hearing that. And Gail, am I right? Were you just in Croatia? You were somewhere super cool.
No, I was in Prague.
Gail. Where were
Gail.
you?
Gail,
I was
you're
in
muted.
Prague.
Yeah, you're
Yes,
No,
I was
Joyce, you
just
were
in.
you were in
Am I
Prague, but
back?
yeah, Gail
No,
had
you're
been
good, Gail.
somewhere cool also.
I was in June. I was in Slovenia and
Oh,
Croatia, and it was an absolutely spectacular trip. I really didn't know what I was expecting. Somehow Croatia has always been on my list, and then when Slovenia was included, I thought, why not? And what was interesting is I'm not going to talk politics, but Slovenia was a gorgeous country. Absolutely. So pristine, so clean, all into the environment, lots of hiking, lots of biking, just absolutely fairy tale land. But the best thing was, and this will just be my only political commentary, they really felt that the First Lady's a traitor. And I was grateful that there were no monuments to um, uh, Melania. And so it was it was kind of an interesting thing because a lot of people kept saying Slovenia, and I said, well, yes, but it was absolutely gorgeous. And then from there, it was a 9 day trip all the way down the Croatian coast. And
Wow.
again, absolutely gorgeous and so environmentally friendly. Everything, there was recycling everywhere. There were solar things everywhere. And the people were just absolutely delightful. A lot spoke English, of course, as Joyce just said, a lot of the older people did not speak English, but if you smile and do hand gestures and at least know a few words, um, all was just perfect. And the beaches were just gorgeous. A lot different than the Jersey Shore. There was no sand.
No.
It was all rock. And I'm glad I brought water shoes with me because but anyway, it was spectacular. The food, oh my goodness, the fish. I had a swordfish steak that tasted like it was
Right.
the most amazing thing. It tasted better than any piece of beef I've ever had in my life. And it was a tuna steak. So it was just a really great trip, and I'd highly recommend seeing that part of the world. And the Adriatic Sea was just drop dead gorgeous. Just loved it. And on
So
one
did
day we had some time and we people on the tour, we hired a boat and the boat took us out and we were just able to jump off the boat in coves and swim around and then get back on the boat. And for being almost 71, I was pretty pleased I could get back on the boat without help.
let's give her a round of applause for that.
Oh, thanks.
So did
Everybody
you
I
travel?
talk to, they say it's gorgeous. Everybody that has gone to Croatia just says that coastline is incredible.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
yes. And the thing is, there's no trash. The only graffiti that was in both of the countries was left when it was under communist regime, and they're getting rid of it as the buildings are being demolished. But it was just absolutely gorgeous. Wonderful. I'd highly recommend.
Should we all add that to our bucket list?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm thinking a cruise, right, Sue? We could do a cruise. Sue could help us with that.
I'm in.
So,
I'm
did
in.
you travel with an organized group by bus or train, or was it a
Oh,
cruise?
me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I travel. I found this great tour company called Gate One Travel, and their motto is see more of the world for less. And you stay at fabulous hotels. The itineraries are really great, and they have different levels of travel. Classic is your typical, like 40 people bus tour. But this, I went on a discovery tour that just had 22 people, and which was
Hmm.
wonderful. And this was my sixth trip with Gate One, and I'm leaving on September 2nd to Iceland.
Nice. Oh, wow.
You go, girl, right?
I'm going.
That is cool. Okay,
Dan,
who else would like to share an adventure place they've been?
I thought I saw, oh, go ahead. I thought I saw Nona and then Dan, right?
Okay.
Yeah, mine's not, it's a bit different because again, a place you never would have imagined going to when we graduated. And again, it was through mission trips. I got to Haiti. Um, and so it's not exactly a Caribbean vacation, although our guy was there was taking us to the beach just about after every work day. But it's truly
Mm.
amazing, and you learn a lot about the island. How it was the only successful slave revolt in the early 1800s, and then France made them pay indemnity for the freed slaves, which absolutely just, I mean, if you wonder why Haiti's such a mess, I mean, that's one of the reasons they had to pay millions to France. They were still paying it in the 1940s and 50s. The Haitian people are just lovely, and I cry for what's going on now, that they're at the mercy of these gangs because they can't get a government together. And I haven't been back since 2016, but we still get reports every once in a while from the orphanage we supported. But it was it's just really something different. I'm glad I went. not really comfortable. You don't get the really, the luxury travel, but we did get to the beach most days, and there are some really beautiful beaches down there because it is the Caribbean. So anyway, so that was kind of my adventure. And my parents actually went to, it wasn't Croatia, it was Yugoslavia then. It was in the early, I think it was in the 80s. It was before the war and everything. And I remember my mom, when that war broke out, just pulling out her album and it's like, oh my gosh, like these things that we saw were being blown up. So it was just, but she talked about how gorgeous it was, especially Dubrovnik. So
Mm. That's great. Thank you, Nona. How about you, Dan?
Um, I don't really have a place that I've gone to. Well, the place that I've gone to is where I am right now, which is Fire Island, and it's a beach community off of Long Island. But it's what's different about it is that there are no cars and there are no roads. There's no streets. It's just passenger. You have to walk everywhere on these small boardwalks. And um, I started going here in the 1979. It was like a singles community, and I took a half share in 1979. Every other weekend I was here. It's all single people, like hundreds of single people. And um, it turns out I met my wife that summer, and I didn't know she'd be my wife, but she did. And um, and I've been coming here ever since. We still come here. There's still no streets, no cars, no motor vehicles of any type. All there is to do is to sit on the beach, and there's one bar restaurant. There's one small grocery store, and you just make your own fun. And it's now back in the 70s and 80s, there was lots going on, lots of parties, lots of wild stuff, and now it's not at all like that. It's boring, but
Boring. It's not boring.
all those singles grew up and got married and had
Right,
kids.
right.
exactly. So we still have friends from the 70s that we've known all these years, but now they're in their 70s like we are. So
So
it's
do you still go there?
every weekend.
That's where he is
Oh,
now.
well.
Where he
Oh,
is
that's
now.
where you are now?
That's where I am now, and it's a pain to get here. It's like an hour drive from New York, and then you have to take a ferry because it's an island. You take a ferry, or you have to have your own boat, which I don't have, and it's so it's like a 2 hour trip each way, but it's worth it 'cause once you get here, you just take off your shoes, you're barefoot. It's just if you like the beach, it's really unique. I've never been in a place like this before, and
Dan,
Wow.
Dan, how's the rip currents there today? Is it really bad like it is on the Jersey Shore in North Carolina?
it is really big. It's the beaches, the ocean. I mean, I've been coming here for 40 years. I've seen lots of storms. This is probably one of the worst I've ever seen. The ocean is like boiling. It's like exploding. Even though the hurricane is 700 miles away, it's down by North Carolina. But when even 700 miles away, the ocean, you can't go in the water. The waves are, wild, and the beach is closed, and and we're not going to get the rain, I don't think, but we're getting the high surf, and
It's
you
it
can't,
rained this afternoon here,
yeah,
Cranford. Um, but yeah, North Carolina on the Outer Banks, they closed all the beaches.
sure.
And in fact, in one place called Oak Island, they're moving all the turtle nests
Oh,
upward because the water's just going to infiltrate the nests. I assume that the turtles will drown,
so
that haven't hatched yet. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm going to look it up later. Oak Island, North Carolina.
Hmm.
So,
Gosh, that's so interesting.
Dan, I was thinking about that, you have a place you go,
every,
when we shared that with me for 40 plus years, and my good friend Sue knows this, but my husband and I fell in love. I've traveled a lot done some things, but we fell in love with Montreal,
Mhm.
Canada, and Joyce, you're not that far away, and so about 3 years ago we bought a place in Montreal, and so it is just a wonderful city that we've kind of nestled into with tremendous art, music, culture, and it's only 5 hours from my house. So sometimes you don't have to go too far to find your little piece of heaven.
Mhm.
Nice.
That
Very
is
cool.
great. Wow. Well, we're going to move on to our next question. So Nona, take it away.
So I've got the question I have is what is the most daring or adventurous thing you have done since 1972?
Does it have to be since or could it be in 1972?
Well, it could be in, so
Okay, well, I'm just going to start it out as Marion Stabirsky is not on tonight, our crazy girlfriend. But I always had dirt bikes, motorcycles, because when I was a kid, we found this little road that's the last exit in New Jersey heading into Pennsylvania on the Delaware Water Gap. And we
Mhm.
spent all of our summers and weekends there. And so I always had a dirt bike. So one day I said to Marion, let's drive up to the, the Delaware Water Gap. And I had her on the back of my 175 Kawasaki driving through, you know, back then it was 46 or 31, I think it was back then, wasn't it? And with her screaming, please, please don't crash. But that would happen in 72, and that was a great memory for us. We laugh about it.
and obviously you didn't crash.
We didn't crash. I'm a good
That
driver.
that last exit in New Jersey off of Route 80 is the Old Mine Road.
That's it.
And
The
and
Copper Mine Inn is where we stayed.
okay. And if you
Right.
follow it along the Delaware, but you're heading more inland in New Jersey, you get to Millbrook Village. And they used to
Mhm.
have a festival days, kind of like Colonial Williamsburg, but
Yeah.
right here in New Jersey. But they stopped that. I think it was 2 years ago. I don't know why, but they had volunteers as docents and would tell you the history of the area. And I think it was in the 1700s. And they had a church there, and inside was a book where they had recorded all the births and deaths and so forth. It was shocking to read all that. I don't know how those people existed in that kind of cold, it's way high up during the winters.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful area. And you guys, I'm not sure if you know, but in the 70s or in the late 60s, they were going to create a dam there, the Tox Island Dam.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was going to dam up that, the Delaware. And it was I can remember as kids, we would protest and things like that against that, but it never quite went through. And, but a lot of people had to give up their homes at that time. So it was crazy, but yeah, but and if you come into the gap, where the Indian head is and all that, I planted my flag on the top of both sides of those mountains on my motorcycle. Just want you to know. All
Oh,
my
that's
flags are
cool.
still there.
Okay, anyone else? Adventure. Okay, Todd.
Well, I don't know how much of an adventure it is, but th those of you that know me know that I do a lot of road biking. I have a bike here in Florida, and I guess that's dangerous enough just because I'm always with traffic. But and I also have a bike out in Las Vegas. Now, when I ride in Las Vegas, part of the time I'm out in the desert, and I thought it might be fun to do some mountain biking in the desert. So I ditched my road bike and I got a mountain bike. And for those of you that don't know, the desert around Las Vegas, it's not like the beach, right? That's the way I had pictured it. It's really more like a construction zone, and it's hilly. And I got on my bike and I looked for trails, and I'm riding, and pretty soon I realized I was kind of scared out of my mind because if I fell going downhill and there's rocks all around, I wasn't going to fall on anything near as soft and as inviting as blacktop. I was going to fall on a rock that would certainly puncture my lung or some other part of my body that I might want to use some other time. So I've gone a couple of times and I'm kind of afraid to go again. I'm right in between. Should I go again or should I sell the bike? It's uh it's really scary. I did a little mountain biking here in Florida with my son-in-law, but that's in the woods. And that's a lot more sane because there's paths in the woods and yeah, there's roots and there's things, but if you do fall, you're usually falling on something much softer than a construction zone where there's rocks and and boulders and that's all there is. It's one after the other. So that's was the daring thing that I've tried, and maybe I should learn at our age because this was just a couple of years ago I did it. That I'm you see people doing it that are a lot younger, and I guess there are bikers that are old, and then there's bikers that are bold, but there's no bikers that are old and bold because it could be painful.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
my
Kim.
story.
What was, oh, go ahead.
Oh, were you done? Or did somebody else want to go?
Well, I got something I want to know.
I have
Okay.
something.
Okay, then why don't we do, I saw Kim first and then Bill and then Dan. Okay? Kim.
So back in the if you consider our like high school, college, maybe our first chapter. So in my second chapter, I was a performing musician for about, I don't know, 12, 15 years. I mean, I still kind of occasionally do, but this was what I wanted to do full time. And I was really putting everything into trying to make it. And so part of that I thought was going to be to go on tour. And so I booked a few gigs in California, but then I had to get to California, which meant driving. And this is in the days of pay phones and paper maps. And I am really not very brave. I am usually filled with anxiety and very, very nervous. And so I was until I got on the road. And then it was strange, but it felt fine once I was actually doing it. And I had all these people to stay with. A lot of people were friends of friends. So there were people I'd never met. Or they were people I knew from music, but they didn't live where, obviously, they didn't live where I lived. So I only saw them when we all got together for music things. So I think I made it as far as Columbia, Maryland the first night. And then I had to drive to Atlanta. And I stayed with friends of friends. And she gave me her bed. She said, "You've been driving for 12 hours. Have my bed." And it was, I had never slept on a futon before. It was a futon, and she had a feather bed on it. And I swear it was heaven. It was the softest thing I had ever slept on. I said, "I'm getting one of those when I get home." And anyway, and I made it, and I didn't, everybody tells you to be careful and don't talk to strangers and be very aware of where you're going. And I would just say that you should always talk to strangers, that the best thing about traveling
Yes.
is when people aren't strangers anymore, but
Yeah.
that if you're not talking to strangers, you're not doing what travel is really for, which is to get to know people who are different and who you've never met. So, I think if I had any regrets about, all the years I did this for, I guess I did it for 6 years. I would drive to California every year, and I would drive to Texas to the Kerrville. So where all the flooding was this year, there's a festival there on a ranch in Kerrville, and I would go there every year, and then I would drive to the Midwest every year to various places around Michigan and Chicago and stuff. And once I was doing it, I loved it. And the idea of doing it again fills me with absolute horror. But discovering places like Gila River Indian Reservation, which isn't really a big show place, but it was beautiful. And, you could have fry bread and, other real Indian dishes and sea crafts um and getting to have local people take you. I stayed with people in San Luis Obispo who had a pet pig that weighed 500 pounds, and they would take it for a walk every day. And so I got to go walking with them, and they said, just don't get between me and the pig, because the pig is a little jealous and it doesn't like anybody else to get too close. I said, okay, I won't do that. And anyway, so that was just probably nobody would have expected I would find myself, but I did.
we I'm laughing about the pig. I think hey, just a quick thing before we move on. We just want to recognize that we have a couple of new folks on. It only takes a second. Jane Matthews is with us from, I'm going to get this wrong, Sukasuna, New Jersey. Where's that, Sue?
Morris,
Go ahead,
okay,
Sue.
Morris County.
By you, right?
Yeah, yeah, she's close to me. Yeah.
And Paula Dahlquist Golding. Paula had reached out via an email contact, is with us tonight.
Yeah.
So we want to just say to you two, these are our every other month we do a social happy hour. And this is just kind of where we throw out some prompts and have a conversation. And then the subsequent months we do kind of a theme-based thing. So happy you've joined us. And, again, we're just chatting away here.
Okay.
Yes, I echo that. So glad that you've joined us.
Except we can't see you. So if you can
They
turn
might
on
not
your
want to.
cameras. Okay. Bill, you wanted to say something.
Well, my adventure vacations was scuba diving.
Ooh.
I just had, we grew up with Sea Hunt and Flipper and stuff like that. And I just fell in love with scuba diving after those shows. And then it actually made me want to move to Springfield, Missouri here, because we have a whole bunch of scuba diving lakes here and even places where you can take scuba lessons. So I would take the lessons and swim in the lakes. And then we went down to the Caymans several times. And scuba diving in the Caymans, if you ever want to try it, is heavenly. The water is as clear as your bathtub. And it's just tons and tons of fish. And you don't get too nervous about going eye to eye with a barracuda or anything like that. You just leave them alone. They leave you alone. It's okay. My wife at the time, she wanted to find sharks. So she kept looking under rocks to find sharks, which I wasn't real happy with. But fortunately, there are a few types of sharks that are pretty benign. And we were all a well-trained group. So for the accidents that we had, nobody got hurt. I know one part of my group was one time they went down to 100 feet, which is pretty much the maximum depth for sports scuba diving. Any deeper than that, you can only stay down about 3 minutes before your lungs collapse and you die and all kind of fun stuff like that. And while she was down there, her scuba diving equipment malfunctioned. So here she is 100 feet down, couldn't breathe, but she knew how to give the right signal. Her partner handed her. We all go down when we go scuba diving like that. We all have a spare mouthpiece that we can hand to a partner if something goes wrong with theirs. So she gave the signal. Her partner gave her that. That worked well. At one point, I actually ran out of air at about 20 feet, which wasn't too bad because the guy who was my partner violated the rules of staying with your partner. And he kept going deeper and deeper when we were starting to run out of air. And I ran out of air. But fortunately, at 20 feet, you can get to the surface. And so no harm done. Just when you go to take a deep breath and there's nothing there, for about 2 seconds of panic, it's bad, but you just go up and you do okay. The water there was so clear that one guy, when he was getting back on the boat, his watch fell off the boat and fell down. And we were in 100 feet of water there. We could look over the edge of the boat and see his watch on the sand at the bottom.
Oh,
And
Wow. Wow.
one of us who had some air left just jumped in, went down there, got his watch for him, and came right back up. But absolutely, and it is just totally magic to be flying, because when you're properly equilibrated and everything like this, there is no such thing as up and down or anything like that. You can go any direction you want without any problems. And then the Caymans have a very interesting geologic feature. The end of one of the edges of the Cayman Islands is called Cayman Brock. And if you go up to the end of that, and then there's a vertical cliff that goes down 600 feet. So if you're not paying attention and you're just scuba diving, you're swimming about 20 feet off the bottom, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of the ocean where you can't see anything, any recognizable structures, because it's nothing but miles of water. So that was just it's just fun. I loved it.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Before we move on to Dan, Joanne, I think Paul is wanting to know.
I'm on it. I got it. Thanks, Nona. Right.
And okay, Dan.
Okay. This really isn't well, it was an adventure, but it wasn't daring. It was just very challenging. In 25 years ago, I rode my bike one weekend from Boston, where Joyce lives, to New York.
Oh, that's an adventure.
As part of a group ride, a fundraising ride called the AIDS Ride. So it's 250 miles in 3 days. Sleeping in tents every night, the 2 nights, and it was lots of fun, but it was hard. It was lots of riding, and I raised about $4,000 for AIDS research in Boston, and it was a fantastic ride. And just like someone said, I guess Kim, talking to strangers, just everyone on the ride. There were 2,000 people on the ride, and they're all strangers. So the conversations I had on that ride were like once in a lifetime. They were fantastic, and it was a weekend I'll never forget. So.
Wow.
I just have one thing. Are you the last one? Is there anybody else that wants
You're
to
the
say?
last one, Sue, and then we want to say hi to
Well,
Paul.
mine's really quick. I mean, I'm enjoying listening to all these daring adventures, and I just want to let you all know that my most daring adventure was getting married to my ex-husband. Just so you know.
Yeah. I guess mine wasn't getting married, but at 19 years old, getting on a plane all by myself to go to France for a year in an era where, my parents didn't know I'd arrived safely until I got there and sent a letter home. So a bit different from now.
All right. Well, listen, I just want to say we got to say hi to Paula, because we're seeing that smiley face for our first time in a happy hour. So
Yay.
come on, everybody. Let's
Paula.
give it up to Paula. Right?
Hi, Paula.
Hi, Paula. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
And Paula, where are you?
I'm in Highlands Ranch, Colorado.
Oh, another Colorado.
Yeah, another
Jason, Colorado. Jason,
yeah, I see that, but I don't know where Black Forest is. Is it Black Forest? Is that where you're from?
By Colorado Springs, he said, I think, right, Jason?
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's further south than me. I'm, about 30 minutes south of Denver. So been here since 1990 about. So after going to UNH, worked in New England and then went to Chicago for 5 miserable years. Then I got out here. So, so it's beautiful, but I miss the ocean so much.
I bet. So we're happy you joined us. And, last month we had a great session with Judy and Virginia.
Yeah, and I saw that afterward. Yeah.
And then, so tonight is one of our, we just call these social happy hours. And next month, Todd's going to give a big announcement in a little bit about next month's session. So more to come on that. So Faye, I'm off script. I don't know who's next.
No, that's okay. And Paula, I think I saw a picture of you on Facebook with the family.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my daughter just had a baby girl 3 weeks ago.
Hey.
And she did a home birth.
Oh,
and the midwives hadn't gotten there yet. The baby decided to come out, so her husband delivered it. It was
Wow.
quite, yeah, I was there in the house because I was babysitting her grandson, or my grandson, 2.5 years old. And we were in the basement playing, and I knew she was up there having contractions. And then I heard this big grunt. And then Derek, her husband, sent us all a picture of her holding
Wow.
this newborn. And I knew the midwives weren't there yet. So I was like, oh my gosh. So, but it all went well. So now I have 2 grandchildren. So,
Congrats.
yes, thank
Congrats.
you.
Well, you just shared with us your big adventure.
Oh, I can't even
That
That's
think
right.
must
of,
have been
I
that must
can't
have been
think
an
of any. Just,
adventure.
I have a pretty boring life. So.
Yeah.
I guess the only one I can think of is the scuba diving too. When I learned how to scuba dive in, well, Cancun, when I went to a Club Med in my single days, and I was scared to death going under the water, and they were just trying to tell me to breathe, 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 and I panicked and came back up and had to get a second lesson, go back under. But then I fell in love with it after that time. But I haven't done it in years, unfortunately. But just never get to the ocean that often. So, but I can't really think of anything too
Mhm.
exciting.
Well, I think that baby coming without a
Oh
midnight
yeah, that was yes,
midwife was. Did
yes.
you get certified in diving?
Yeah, yeah, I sure did.
You
When I went
did.
to when I went to another Club Med in the Turks and Caicos Islands, so I actually got certified there. So, and then I did some diving, a couple trips to Hawaii, but I think that was the last time. It's probably been 20 years. So, but it's a great sport, especially if you're in a tropical area. So that's the one that
Exactly.
stands out.
That's great.
Yeah, well, great to
nice.
see everybody for sure.
So I'll
We
just toss it now. Oh, I was going to toss it to Dan for the next prompt.
Okay. Well, the next prompt is we kind of covered some of it. It's like, where have you lived? Um, that's we all grew up in Cranford, a
We know,
suburban,
yeah.
and but where have you lived that's different from Cranford? Like
Um,
cities, foreign countries, um, what types of places? I was going to talk about Fire Island, but I already did that. So I live in New York, which is pretty different from Cranford, but not as different as you might think. Um, and anyone have any ideas where they?
Well, I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and I first learned about St. Louis, I think, with the Weekly Reader. Wasn't that something we got in school? And
Yeah.
I was intrigued with the arch. And who would have thought I came to college and I stayed here and lived? But I like St. Louis, and I call it um the gateway to the east, to the west, and the back door to the east. It's a great place to live. We've got great culture. We've got it's a wonderful place. You got rural areas, you've got lakes, you've got streams. The only thing that's missing is an ocean, and I still find it unbelievable that I've been here for over 50 years. But I love it. The Weekly Reader sent me here.
I haven't thought of the Weekly Reader in 50 years, probably,
Well,
but
I know, but I just said that's something that just it's like what draw I just remember seeing the arch coming up and I thought that's a cool place I want to see. And so I unbelievable, but I keep remembering that. Thanks for listening.
I live in Keene, New Hampshire, which is nearly identical to Cranford in same size, has a small college, has a river that winds through it, has lots of bridges and footbridges. But the big difference is that in in our part of New Jersey, where you go when you leave one town, you're in the next town. There's like no,
Right.
if it weren't for a sign, you'd never know that you had moved into another town or another town. They're all next to each other. Here in Southwest New Hampshire, when you leave a town, there's nothing. It's wilderness until you get to the next town. So that's
Oh.
the big difference.
Are you near the White Mountains?
I'm a couple hours south of the White Mountains.
Ah,
I'm near Mount Monadnock, which is the most climbed mountain in New England. or possibly more.
Which mountain are you by?
Mount Monadnock.
Oh, I never did that one. Sorry.
Well, then
I tended when I was hiking in New Hampshire, it was up usually Franconia Notch.
Yeah.
So, although I never did Mount Washington, I didn't get past the line in my sister's Appalachian Mountain Guide that started out people who have died on Mount Washington. And I'm just like, I'm not hiking Mount Washington.
So right in the 70s, after high school, I ended up in Guatemala for a couple of years in Central America. And I always had it's a long story. We don't need it to get into the ex-husband conversations. There's something there about that there. But a fascinating country, beautiful mountains, volcanoes, just the culture. And it really inspired my love of the culture of Latin America, and which I ended up, again, becoming a Spanish teacher. I'm bilingual. But I also wrote my thesis in Spanish for my first master's degree in the literary courts of the Aztec Empire. Who would have ever thought of that, but so I kept this love of the language, and the culture just kept growing and growing. And I remember going to the university and speaking Spanish, and they said, "Where'd you come from?" And I said, "Well, I lived in Central America." And he goes, "You got to go to Spain." And because you need to have a balance. So spent many times, I think 25, 26 trips to Spain. I ended up getting my master's degree from the University of Madrid. But so that it's kind of crazy. But that's been a passion, and that was my career. I ended up teaching Spanish in school for many years. But I just remember, I'll tell you the one thing that in the 70s that really was startling to me as a kid coming out of New Jersey was the lack of freedom and fear. Because when I was in Guatemala, there was a bit of a dictatorship. And I can remember being stopped because we were lost after hours and, having machine guns pointed at us.
Oh my God.
It was the 70s, it was not a safe time to travel. And it was quite frightening. And I just remember flying into Miami airport, and I got down on the ground, and I said, "I'm so glad I'm home." And I called my mom and I said, "Could you make me some spaghetti?" Because I wanted a spaghetti dinner. But that really inspired a lot of, the work I've done, again, with my language and stuff. But so living in Guatemala for a year and a half, and then spending lots of time in Spain and, the University of Madrid. I love Madrid. So all good. That's a little side adventure.
When you were going to Spain, I guess Franco was gone by the time you were going to Spain.
Yeah, it was right after Franco. So the country was loosening up, so to speak, because, it was very restrictive for women in particular following their civil war. And again, like Joyce, cathedrals. I mean, just the architecture, the history, was the cathedral in Toledo for me is like it. But what was joyful for me is that for I guess about 10 years, I took every year a trip with students. I took them to Spain, and I always prepared them about the art and everything. I did not prepare them for the topless beaches, in Europe. So after my second trip with a bunch of 16-year-old boys and girls, I said, "Okay, we got to talk about this before we go the next time." And so we planned accordingly. So it was a great influence on my life.
I was there in April of 75, and it was the last few months of Franco's rule. And they basically, you checked into something, you handed over your passport, and you didn't get it back till the next morning.
No, scary.
It was scary. And we were having a tour, I think, of the Prado, and their first stop on the tour was the bust of our glorious leader, Franco.
Mhm.
I kind of
Yeah.
smirked, and the guides just shot a look at me, and I'm like, oops,
Yeah, be careful. Right.
be
So,
careful, that could get you thrown in jail here. So
Faye?
Is any
Well, I kind of have a
well,
different place that
Yeah, go ahead.
we
Share.
we had moved to. My wife and I, we got married literally the day after she graduated college, right on campus. And from there, we moved to Texas right from the ceremony. We got in a car and we started driving to Texas,
Wow.
and we moved to Dallas, Texas.
Oh my God.
And one thing about Texans is they're really, really proud of their cities.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and what I like to say is never have so many been so proud of so little.
yeah.
Because we had a lot more in the New York City area than they ever had in the Dallas, Fort Worth area. Even back in the mid 70s, it was just a big city with a lot of people and a lot of big buildings, but not much else. So we stayed there for 2 years, and I was shocked that down there in 1977, the Civil War wasn't over, even in cosmopolitan Dallas. Um, I was routinely called Yankee. If I would have stayed, I would have been called Damn Yankee.
Well, I got something to add. My late husband was from Houston, and he was the only person in generations that left Texas. And until I was called the token Yankee in the family. There was no one ever married someone from the North. And the first time I went to visit his family, they tested me. I ate so much barbecue. I had crawfish, these catfish with their heads on. It was, but I passed all the tests. And anyway, it was just interesting because you're so right.
It
Texas is a
was
different
it was
country,
so
and us
different.
from New Jersey, we don't quite cut it there. I'm just
And of
laughing.
course, back then, what was big for food was Tex-Mex.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea about that. And so the first day we moved, we were looking for some place to have dinner before we started our jobs, literally the next day. And we went to a place called like Taco Hut. And I'd never even heard of what a taco was. And so I went there, and they had all this different Mexican food, but it was fast food Mexican, right? It was tostadas and right?
Like Taco Bell.
Yeah, it was like what Taco Bell is now.
Yep.
Uh, and so the next day I went to work for my first day, and I told the people I worked with, who were all Texans. I told them about this great new food experience I had had.
Oh.
And I explained to them in intricate detail about this Taco Bell. And they laughed at me, and they took me out to a real Mexican restaurant for lunch that very day. And that was enough to get me pretty embarrassed, because the Mexican food they had there at a real Mexican restaurant was just like what we have now all over the country. But back then, there were no bagels in Dallas. There was no Mexican food in New Jersey, right? And you'd go to different areas, and you'd actually be able to experience things that are different. But at 21 years old, I had no idea what to expect. I had gone to an employment agent after I was working in Syracuse, and I didn't like my job at all. And so I said, I've been working for a year. Take me anywhere. I don't care. My wife didn't have a job yet. She had no chance of getting a job in the Northeast. And she said, well, Texas will be great for you because they need teachers down there. And sure enough, they did.
Oh.
And it all worked out great. But it was a whole different culture and environment that I was like, I like to say it was a good place to be from.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Texas. When my parents got married and then I came along, I actually flew on the first airplane. I was 6 weeks old, and my dad had got a job in McAllen, Texas. And the one thing he said to my mother was, "Make sure your sunglasses are green tinted." And they lived in McAllen for about 3 years before we came back to New Jersey. And so anyway, my mom said she could not understand people and they could not understand her. So Texas is a good place to visit, not a good place for folks from New Jersey to live.
Yeah, I wonder if it's any different now, but we're talking, almost 50 years ago when we were there.
Well, mine was the last contact was 20 years ago, and they still called me the token Yankee.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, I don't know if but does anybody live further south than me? I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah, Florida, but that's kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
A little bit.
well,
I mean, when I first moved here, and still had a New Jersey accent, I was treated very poorly. And also, I had no idea what people were saying. I had no idea. And this is not even really the deep, South. But what I realized in my work that I was doing, working with people in Virginia, West Virginia, is once I started saying y'all, I had a really better experience. I consciously tried to imitate and say y'all a lot.
Get those sign up.
And it actually worked pretty well. It was actually a true kind of thing. But I love Charlottesville. I've been here since 1980. My first husband and I moved here. It was
Colonial.
what's that?
My mom got us this when we told her we were going to be moving to Texas. It's hung on our wall for almost 50 years now.
Did it say y'all? I couldn't read it.
Y'all.
Yeah,
Shalom,
okay.
y'all.
Oh, y'all.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In both Hebrew and in English.
Well, Charlottesville is really a wonderful place. It is about 150,000 population. It's where the University of Virginia is. A lot of history. Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. Nearby is James Madison homes and James Monroe's home. So there's just deep in history. We're very near the Shenandoah National Park and the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I love it here, and I really haven't missed living in New Jersey, to tell you the truth. So now I think we move on to Todd, right? Giving another different prompt.
Yep, my turn. Now that everyone here is a senior citizen, we're lucky enough to have some time to do some special things during the remainder of our lives. These things are sometimes called bucket list things, right? What I'd like to know is what's on your bucket list that you've been able to do or you intend to do in the near future. And I'll start with something for myself personally. In high school, I wasn't a joiner. I looked at high school as being something as just it was purely a stepping stone to get to college. So you got through high school, and so at the end of every school day, I went home and either went to work or just did my own things or visited with some friends. But I didn't take advantage of anything that school had to offer other than going to classes. Time passed, and I married my wonderful wife, who was a big
The best person ever. Just so we all know, right, everybody?
Perfect
Come
for
on.
me.
We love
Perfect for
Barbara.
me,
We
that's
love
for sure.
Barbara.
Thank you, thank you.
You're
Hi,
the only
Barbara.
spouse listening in that we can say that about.
Oh, she's an
And-
honorary member of the class.
She is.
I
She
know.
is.
And so she was a big joiner, and then time passed, and we had three children, and they were all big joiners. The shortstop on the baseball team, the captains of the cheerleaders, in the bands, they did all of that. And so I realized that I'd made a big mistake in high school by just getting through high school. So what was on my bucket list was to be involved in future class events with my classmates, so I could make up for my lack of involvement that I had with my classmates when I was a kid. So now that I became older and wiser, that was on my bucket list, to be associated with and to be part of such a tremendous collaborative effort that puts together wonderful events, of which this is just one of what will be a long series. So that's the biggest thing on my bucket list that I was able to accomplish, which I consider kind of righting a wrong that 18-year-old Todd didn't realize he was doing until much later. That's my thing. Anybody else have a bucket list thing that they've accomplished or hope to accomplish in the near future? Jace.
Sure. Okay. Oh, I was in Israel, by the way, and I couldn't get a bagel there. I heard, I heard they had a New York deli in Tel Aviv, and I heard you could get a bagel there, by the way.
Uh-huh.
But,
What year was
but anyway,
that? What year were you
I met my
what year were you in Israel?
88.
Okay.
I was there in 88, and either way, I was there for like 8 days, and I came close to getting killed like 3 times, and I loved every minute of it. I really like Israel. But anyway, I met my wife at a church picnic in New Brunswick, and she's from Colorado. I'm from Mars. That's what I told her. But anyway, I could tell she wasn't fond of New Jersey because she said, "I'm not fond of New Jersey." But, so I
very astute.
I purposed. I didn't. I purposed in my heart to get my sweetheart back to Colorado. You know, and she. I think that's what most boys do. They try to be the hero. That's all. So anyway, shortly after that, I lost my job at Ciba Pharmaceuticals. I had been there 11 years. I didn't have I didn't have a house or property in New Jersey. I had a big apartment in Warren. It was kind of cool. It was kind of out in the woods. It was big, and I had a 35-foot sailboat. But I didn't have any property. So I told her, since I lost my job anyway, why don't you go to Colorado and visit your mom in Lake? That's where she's from, and look for an apartment or property or something. I just want to knock something off my bucket list. I want to take this boat down to. I always wanted to take my own boat down to Beach Haven on Long Beach Island. So she left, and I did that, and it was just a 6-day trip, like round trip. And I took my Aunt Paula with me. She was a good swimmer. I didn't have to worry about her. So anyway, I did that, and then so she had. I was doing other things, and she had been here in Colorado for like 3 weeks already. And a few times, so we're like an hour south of Lakewood where her mother was, and a few times she actually slept in a Walmart parking lot in our car, and I she my family, pictures and prices and maps and everything, and I don't hear from God that often, but I thought God was telling me Black Forest, and I just kept saying, I'm not moving to Germany. I'm not going to Germany. That's probably why I don't hear from. That's probably why I don't hear from him that often, because I got this attitude, But anyway, one night I'm looking at one of the maps she sent me, and in tiny little letters across the airport, you can see where Black Forest. And I thought, at least it's not Germany. So when I got there, I mean, she had been looking for like 3 or 4 weeks, but when I saw that Black Forest on this map, I got on Zillow and I found the place we're living now. I found it in like 20 minutes. So anyway, and I never been to a Walmart before in New Jersey, but that one, the place where she was sleeping, in the same cart, I could have a Bible, a 6-pack, and a box of ammo in the same cart. I couldn't believe it. Anyhow, and we first, so we bought this place. It's just under 5 acres. You couldn't see the house from the road. The driveway was like 120 yards long, and these big ponderosa pines were all over the place. These big trees. So anyway, when we first got there, I didn't feel like I was there yet for some reason. I didn't know. I didn't see how special the Black Forest was, and I just didn't feel like I was there yet. So we went to a concert. It was a cowboy band playing at the community club in the Black Forest, and Black Forest proper, by the way. And my family would ask me, what's the Black Forest like? What's that? Well, shortly before that, the same people were asking me, what's Colorado? What's that? So I tried to tell them about the Black Forest. I said, I don't know what the Black Forest is like, but Black Forest proper here around the community club, 6 churches and a bar. So anyway, we saw a concert at the community hall, and that hall, by the way, it's a big log cabin. It's 92 years old this year, and they still have like weddings and concerts there and funerals, stuff like that. So anyway, we saw this band playing, and cowboy music is not the same as country music. Country music is usually some guy singing about another guy's wife. Cowboy music is some guy singing about another guy's horse. So anyway, this band, I thought they were fabulous. They each had and they were from Fort Collins, but they each had identical dark suits on, identical white hats on. And the bass player wrote a song about a gal whose hair was braided so tight she couldn't close her mouth. So I thought, I really am in Colorado.
So, Jace, are you saying that the Black Forest is on your bucket list?
That
you love it so much?
Well, he's there already.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to knock off some things in New Jersey on my bucket list before I found that place in 20 minutes and went to Colorado.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But have you been back to the Holy Land?
You know what? I forgot how beautiful Cranford was. Oh my God! And Joanne, I love that picture of you with your mother on the river when you were 3 years old. I think I saw it on your Facebook page.
On the footbridge, right? 1958.
Oh my!
Ice skating on Balmere Parkway under the footbridge. I love that.
Yes, I spent a lot of time on that river, either skating or in a canoe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
And have you been back to Israel again? Have you been back to Israel a second time?
No,
Gail,
but my wife was there before we got married. My wife was there also. She worked on a kibbutz for like 5 months.
Oh wow.
Wow.
No, I would like to go back to. I don't. Yeah, I really.
Because that's on my bucket list.
For some reason,
Mine too, but becoming a little less likely I'll ever get there.
I know.
So
I know it's definitely
I just
on my
turned.
bucket list.
I'm just smile. I'm smiling with all these crazy memories and connections and stories. And I just know that we got a big event coming up in September, Todd, right? And Faye,
We do
that
Mhm.
have a big
I
event.
think
That's
is
right.
gonna blow you out of the water.
Right.
So
So, uh, we have a couple more minutes before I tell everybody what
sorry
that
about that.
is. Uh, and I'd like to hear from other people's bucket lists before we
Oh
move
yeah.
on to what's going to happen in September. Gail, did you raise your hand there?
Done.
Oh,
I've just
there.
unmuted. I've got my travel for next year. I'm going to Morocco in April, and then I'm going to Scotland and Ireland in September into October of 2026. And then my real bucket list item, and I'm gonna, God willing, in 2027, I want to go to Australia and New Zealand.
Mm.
Wow.
That's on my
Excellent.
list. I'm going to do it. And as long as the legs
Yeah.
hold out and I
Yeah.
hold out, I'm doing it.
You go, girl. Right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And I
Those of
was
us that are
like
able
Todd, you mentioned earlier, I was a really shy violet in high school.
Mhm.
Our high school
Yep.
was distorted. I mean, we at North Side, South Side, we all got together, etc. And the thing that I like about being more adult or growing up or whatever, however old we are, I become much more sociable, and I like it.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is that some people grow older and wiser, and some people just grow older. And so it's a
We
choice to make to
Well,
be able
I
to.
think you grow older or wiser, but you need to grow old with a sense of life and living. And as my dad said, it's going to sound crazy. My dad said to my mom, she said, if we dress old, we'll be old. My
Yeah,
parents dress
right.
so damn sharp. So I'm not going to go walking around in mini skirts, etc. But I'm not going to look like an old lady.
No, that's
Just,
right. And but
I
but
know that sounds okay.
but
All right.
but some people do live in the past, and it's best exemplified by the people that choose to not come to our reunions or our events because they didn't have a great time in high school because just one or two people bullied them, and they continue to let the bullies win when
Yes,
they just don't
and
move on
last year that
and
our
change.
70th birthday party weekend was just so amazing. And I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. And I've actually been telling St. Louis is a very weird town. They ask a question, where did you go to high school? It's a very big deal here. And I finally, when I first came here, I said, well, I went to a public high school, this and that. They said, what is it like? And so our school was like one of the top zip codes in St. Louis area. And so I've been telling my friends about our 70th birthday party. And they're saying, well, maybe we need to copy that and do it for our 75th birthday party.
Mhm. Excellent.
So,
Exactly.
yes.
Right.
So thank you all.
That is
Hmm.
the greatest form of flattery is if other people
Oh,
would
they
come to
just said,
what
oh,
we
that's a fabulous
have
idea,
done.
rather than a reunion where it's one day and then it's
Hmm.
over.
Yeah.
That was,
I
yeah.
loved last September.
Yep.
Me
Well,
too.
that's good. Well, I do see that we're coming near our end here, and I do want to announce that we're going to have something that will should be on everybody's bucket list coming up in September. We're going to have the opportunity to talk to a comic that is from our class, and he's been a comic for over 40 years. He has done tons of comedic work, and he is a prop comic. And you all probably know I'm talking about Michael Baldwin.
Yeah.
He's agreed to talk with us for an hour and a half. And I have a series of questions to ask him that will take us through his career, but he will also be more than willing to answer any questions that everybody has about how he got into the business and how he got into the specific part of the business that he's in, which is he is a prop comic. Uh, Nobody's that knew Michael Baldwin is surprised, right, that he's grew up to be a comic. But how it happens, it can be fascinating, and including just even the way he got his nickname, the Wid. It wasn't something he made up. It has to do with something that happened to him when he was very young that led him to take the moniker Wid. So on September the 17th at 7 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to have a chance to talk to Michael, and I'm sure he'll do some jokes and maybe some props for us to start us off. But I urge everyone to come and to let everybody that you know that's in our class to come, because the last two uh, topical conversations that we had have worked out fantastically. We got a chance to talk to 5 doctors from our class. We got a chance to talk to a New York Times best-selling author from our class. And every time you walk away from this, you've got to feel a sense of pride that we are part of the class, that these people that have done some very special things. And there's a lot more people that can be on the list of doing special things, and to get into some kind of depth as to how they went from being 18 years old and just one of us to doing things that while we might have thought they do them, but to find out why and how that we're able to accomplish it is fascinating, and it should give us all a sense of pride to be part of a class that has such varied and interesting professions and lifestyles to be able to be part of that is very special. So I urge everyone to come, and I do thank everyone for coming today. Um, while it'd be great to have a few more people, by having the number of people we have, lets everybody that's here talk a little bit more, get into a little bit more depth about what they want to say. And I know there's a lot of things that were said today here that, for me, were surprising, interesting, and funny. And that's what it's all about. And our our wonderfully collaborative group will keep putting these things together, because as long as we're all getting something out of it, it's well worthwhile to become better acquainted with our classmates. Like you were saying, Gail, you were like me in school, right? You had very little involvement in school, but now you're part of us, and you can make things right again. And so we welcome everyone to and encourage everyone to come on September the 17th.
So thanks everybody for joining tonight. And I want to do special shout out to Joanne and Nona and Dan for helping us with the questions and prompts. But good to see you all. See you
Joanne,
next
were you going
time.
to take a
Wait,
picture?
one quick thing, one thing.
picture.
Yeah, I didn't get to do
Well,
my
picture
picture.
time.
And then the other thing is that we did put a survey out to folks if they wanted to share their stories or if they wanted to hear from people. I did put that link in chat. So please do, that would be, because we're trying to set up future theme-based happy hours. So if you want to share stories or you want to hear from someone, just take a minute and fill that out. So, but right now, the big moment, I need everybody to have a big smile, and because I'm taking your pictures right now. And you'll be Facebook famous within 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll be recording this I'll be posting this on our YouTube channel. Go Class of 72. You're the best. God bless.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
God bless.
Everyone.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Friends.
Bye bye.
Bye.